I'm not gonna get very tight with this. I'm just gonna, like I said, move on, because this is not, ultimately this is not a drawing lesson. I just want to show you some ideas of that can translate to the painting later on. Oops. Again, watch out the diagonal relationship. I have the head feel a little far back. Just like trim it a little bit. The reason why, again, it's all have to do with composition, have to do with the balance, right? To me, this head is more interesting over here, the beard, that swings out of that beard. Just kind of angle back, this kind of swing forward, take your eyes out this way. To me, this is more interesting, right? That's how I want the viewer to focus more. If I, again, if I bring out the cranium on this side, on the back, too far, it starts pulling attention from my face. And I don't want that, right? I wanted to have that asymmetrical relation, the balance. So by setting this further forward, again, it make this feel a little more, give a little more action to the front of his face. Proportionally, it looks a little correct too. I want to angle this forward a little bit more than what I had to help to push out that sternal, help to push out that torso. I'll push even more. See, I'm constantly move my arm. Even the way I move my arm follow with the gestures, the volumes. Drawing through, exit, come entrance, exit the other side. So keep this, I'm gonna keep this more passive and keep this side more active, right? Just kind of, I was talking about the head, because this to me is more calm and it's hidden in shadow anyway. I want the dynamic come mostly on this side. Okay, I'll explain what I just did. Okay, obviously that kind of pretty much apply all the shadows on the torsos, but it's not just about taking my content and just start painting the shadow in there. First of all, all these shadow shapes, besides it helps to suggest the perspective, which you can see it helped me to get a sense of this, kind of volumes. You can get a sense of the three-dimensional volumes of this torso. Also, watch out the shadow edges. I have some shadow softer and it has some shadow harder, which that's obviously suggests cast shadows or the core shadow, cast shadow hard edge, core shadow soft edge. And also look at the shape right here. For example, look at this light shape right there. This. You see how it points out over this way? Look at this shape right here, the oblique. Points over here. Look at all this little shape right in here. They also all set up to bring your eyes over down to his knee. Okay? So it's all has a reason, to be drawn that way. And I got a little kind of unclear here. I can refine that. So let's do that. I want to. You got a softer core shadow right here. Again, points over this way. See? Look. Carry your eyes over. Bounce, 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 bounce. One of the things you will also notice, beside now, you can see the shadow give you perspective, shadow give you gestures, right? Shadow help you to connect structure to structures. Shadow also can give you depth. What that means, if you look at the shadow on the thigh, I probably can make it a little more clear, is that you're going to notice the shadow is going to start thinner and they're going to end wider. Like this, right? Again, almost feel like a pathway that coming towards you is a little bit larger and goes away from you is a little tapered. This idea can happen to many areas in the body. Depends on what the body is doing. Depends on where the eye level is. This can twist, like for example, the muscle twist. This is also would do that. This can be, a lot of time you would kind of twist off, doing things like that. It kind of goes behind. Look at this shadow right here. In this case, it's thicker here. Taper towards the armpit. Take your eyes into the armpit or come out towards the elbow, right? My point is, do not ever to begin and end the shadow at same thickness. It always varies. They won't be the same. I would do that in painting too. Overall, you can see from the calf below the knee, the whole lower leg is a little bit darker, or it's sucking into more of a half tone. You can see, well, I just kind of paint the whole thing, blocking the whole overall tone. So what happens when you usually, what you're seeing is, because the figure like imagine the figure is a cylinder like this. Okay, usually light source sits on one side. Usually you have 3/4. So what happened? What you get is, in this case, the light source is on our right side. First thing you get is you get this big band of a core shadow, and you get this whole shadow mass versus the light. Okay, so that's then also what happened is also since the light source is above us, you're also going to get a gradations. So you have, besides think left to right, you also think about above and below. So that means most of the time, in this case, the light source hits right here at the side of his rib cage, and lumina above, lumina below. But when we get to about where it's the middle of his thigh, we can see everything gets a little bit darker, which is good. It creates that focal point, creates that the central light, which is at his side of his rib cage. Step back. I still want to check my overall my proportion, my gestures, and I want that little corner right there. I want some corner right here. Drawing through. I want that thumb pointing back to his torso. The belly also angle this way. Again, just kind of echo all the diagonal relationship and all the way to that smaller detail of that belly button. All has to do this. Look at this right here. Look at, again, this right here, which I just showed you earlier. All this. I don't care that's the back of the leg back there. All I care is this nice triangular shape that connects the stomach into my thigh, into my oval, that big gestures. That means I can even stretch this longer. It won't even hurt. So again, if you understand, like I said, the key elements of what ties in this pose, it helps you to know and how you want to design your shape to reinforce the major idea of the pose. Again, if you don't have that idea, you won't be able to do it, right? So the idea can be the gestures, can be the essence of the pose, how you want to portray. Is the pose is about this, about the perspective, or is about the strength, about this extreme, eye level, about this cross-like compositions, how you want to say it. And then again, you can design your drawings based on that. Even down to smaller shape like that. Take that out. It almost looks like a hammer or an axe. But this axe looks like this, right? It's an asymmetrical shapes. Still, this side take your eye over here. This side take your eye over here. But I want to make this side a little more noticeable, or extend this out a little bit further out, because I rather you to look this way, and then when I do that, you will look at this way. It's just how our eyes will follow. Just we follow more that dominant shape, but this will still help to connect something up there. So when I bring this up, you notice you got that shadow for the scapular triangle, which is where the pectoralis end. The deltoid begin. You got a little channel right in here called a scapular triangle right here. One of my favorite landmark to help to find the shoulder, because usually this gap right here to the center of the neck is not that far, right? And or sometimes if you look at the contour of the neck, it takes you to where that that pit is, and then you can just, once you have this, you can use this to see how far the arms away from that, because sometimes the arm can be tricky to find. You measure off on the head, or it's still you can. The problem is the arms, the shoulders, they work independently. It's the only part on the body working independently. So you can see we can all rotate, go over the place. So sometimes it's a little trickier to find, but that's why sometimes I like to use this. To help me to find where that shoulder next to it. See, drawing through. So if I draw through here, you got a almost like a chicken drum shapes. That tells me here's round, here's no more straight. Look at the shadows. round shape, round shadows. Straight shapes, straight shadows. Round shadow connect to a straight structures next to it. You can step back again. I think you guys can read the flow, right? Any organic subject will have that flow, and that's also what's really get me excited, turns me on about human figure is the contour, the shade, the shapes, the shadow shape, the light shapes, all the way to the fingernail. They all had this cohesive relationships. Able to find them and track them, to show them all work together. That's the challenge. That's the most challenging part on the figure drawings. It's easy to draw that cylinders. If you've been drawing a lot, you probably were able to get the proportion down, pretty good. But again, to make all the shapes down to the smaller detail, all work cohesively, that reinforce the gesture and rhythm, that's really difficult. And then that takes practice and doing a lot of live drawings or drawing off of full references, and do a lot of short poses, both short and long poses, because they all have both pros and cons. So obviously the short poses help you with the gesture a little more than the long pose, because again, the long pose naturally, the pose is a little bit stiff. But even though more of this kind of upright figure, this pose, you can still find things that you can harmonize them. Again, back to the painting. This is also what I would do. I've not necessarily have to paint the shadow for some of the say the figure painting class might ask you to start painting the light and the shadow separation. Yes, it is true. I probably would do that, carefully on the upper torso, because this is obviously more important areas. But when I get to that lower shin, like what I did before, I paint the overall degradation in this case, and then I paint the shadows over on top. And so the shadow will sit over on top of that halftone. To do that, and notice you need more paint. Like I said, I do use a lot of paint. If you just squeeze out a little tiny bit of the paint, it's not going to work with the technique I'm going to be showing you guys, because the way that you do it, you need to mix the paint that on top, you need to mix twice as more as the paint that's underneath, okay? Especially for oil, right? Because it's not going to dry. So you have to paint mix more and lay over on top. But like I said, you're going to get this beautiful relationships, which things is going to merge. You're going to feel like how the shadow merge into the halftone. It will blend nicely. And I like to blend, and that's how you get this the nice flow, the old one color into the next colors. But again, that also is the tricky part. If you don't know how to do it or do it incorrectly, you get dirty. The color temperature is not right, or you mix the wrong color, it could get dirty, okay? But in a way, what I'm trying to say, just know one way of the painting. There's always, experiment and try different, try different technique that works for you, or if you feel like that you can learn something from it. That's why I like to experiment. Swing, swing. See how the hip has to be lower than this bottom of the stomach. Set this back. Right now, that's a leg in the back. You cover up, it's not that important. So I'm gonna drop this down. Check, see anywhere I need to give a little punch. Soft out some of the edges. You notice I'm designing. I'm not kind of labor over the accuracy of the, the reference. Okay, I'm not trapped by it, though I do use it. Obviously I still has to honor the models, the pose, but then I'm using it to give my own interpretation, my stories. I always say to students, like movie directors, how you want to guide the viewer to look at your piece. Right now, only dealing with the figures. You can see just within the figure itself, it already have so much knowledge to it to create atmosphere. Well, not really atmosphere perspective. There's a little bit. There's still some perspective. You can create like the flow, the read, the graphic, the graphic elements. Things I wanted to keep it more, like again, more graphic or more chisel, or I want it to be more gestural, more fluid. I want to keep more passive, more active. I loved, like I said, I like to play with those different, like same as color. I'll play with the color temperature. I'll play with the color intensity, because each plane will have different value. Also, will have a different temperature, different color intensity. That's how our nature works, right? You got warm and cool and warm and cool, and also nature it's deal with reflection a lot, deal with relationship a lot. My inside my arm, probably gonna get some of these my blue T-shirts, and so, it's all about what's next to it, what's above it, what's below it. It's not just about this, it's about this in relationship to the surrounding.